Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Join us on Twitter at Cascade Hoop Talk. Hey, thrilled today we have Bishop Smith from IU East. He's River State's All-Conference first team, second team All-American, but he is also Academic All-District and River State's All-Conference Scholar Athlete. Bishop won 111 games during his time at IU East. He's the all-time leading scorer for the Red Wolves with 1,954 points. Ranked second this season in the NAI Division II in three-pointers. He made 126 of them, 10th in the nation in scoring, and he dished out 132 assists this year as well. Welcome, Bishop. Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure to be here.
Bishop, you grew up in that hotbed of basketball north of Indianapolis between I-69 and I-65. So many good college basketball players come out of that area. You were all-conference as well as academic all-state at Warren Central High School. Just talk about your high school career.
Growing up in Indianapolis, I was able to not only compete against some great basketball players, but play with some great players and learn from some extremely gifted coaches as well. And just going to Warren Central on the east side of Indianapolis, it kind of puts a chip on your shoulder. I think Warren Central in general is just a huge sports school, and our community kind of gets behind us in that aspect.
So in your on your senior night, you played a team that just is always a powerhouse. Tons of college players come out of it. Carmel. Do you remember playing them on senior night?
Oh, yes, sir. Carmel has always been a rival of ours over at Warren Central, just a Indianapolis kind of matchup and rivalry. But what a lot of people don't know, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Coach Hetty. He's the head coach at Marion University now. He used to be the basketball coach at Warren Central, and my senior year he was the head coach at Carmel. So we actually got to defeat Hetty at home on our own court on senior night. So that was a big win, and just kind of getting over the hump of Hetty going to Carmel and winning a bunch of championships and had left our school prior. So I think it meant a lot to our community and our program.
Oh, that sounds like it's a pretty sweet victory. I didn't know that history of Coach Hetty. I didn't know he had been there. He'd coached both at Warren and at Carmel.
Yes, sir.
But on senior night, you took him down at home. I bet the home fans loved that.
Oh, they did. The student section ended up rushing the court.
So you finished up there at Warren Central, and then you had to decide where you were going to play college basketball. You decided to go about an hour down the freeway to Richmond. So what made you pick IU East?
There were a few different factors going into my decision to go to IU East. I was looking at several different NAI schools, and ultimately I wanted to be able to win some games in college and just be able to put a winner on my resume as I went through my college career. And IU East being just an hour away from home, it was pretty convenient to get back and forth from my family and able to have them come see me play. And then also IU East had just came off of a Final Four run when I was a senior in high school. So knowing that I was going to be joining a tough program and a lot of good talent and a talented team meant a lot to me coming in.
Oh, yeah, and you made a great choice. IU East is perennial power, and during your entire career, you had great teams. We'll talk about that in a moment, but let's start with your freshman season. You, as a freshman, a true freshman, you came in and you played in all 36 games, played about 16 minutes a game. You guys had a pretty good team. Talk about your initiation into NAI basketball, what you learned.
I think my freshman year was mainly just a small adjustment process. I kind of had to learn the ins and outs of not only the college basketball game, but just our program and the way coach likes things done. I was blessed to be able to play quite a bit as a freshman, but I had definitely an adjustment process with the role I was playing, because senior year of high school, I was asked to score the ball quite a bit for my high school, and coming into college, Hester wanted me to play some point guard for him. So freshman year, I spent a lot of time trying to learn the point guard position and just how to be a better teammate for my team.
What about your adjustment to college basketball? Was it what you expected? I know you had been a big star in high school.
My adjustment, it was just about what I expected. I think the biggest adjustment that I liked and enjoyed about college basketball was the addition of the shot clock. I think it just kind of changed the pace of the game for me and allowed me to kind of play with confidence all 30 seconds of the shot clock and not worry about when we should be looking for a shot or things like that.
Personally, I'd love to see high school basketball across the country adopt the shot clock, but
Oh, agree.
yeah,
Agree
it
completely.
makes for some really bad games. So in your freshman year, your role increased throughout the year. You played about in the tournament. You played about 20 minutes a game. You guys made it to the final 8, and you lost what had to have been a really frustrating game to Cornerstone. And Cornerstone had a fantastic team that year. What do you
Oh,
remember
yeah.
about that loss?
What I remember about that loss most just had to have been the disappointing feeling and let down kind of atmosphere that was around and that our only senior Kyle Pippinger had to deal with. I think kind of just seeing that feeling and being around it made me realize that I didn't want to feel it much longer.
What affected that making the tournament and then being able to go fairly deep in the tournament as a freshman? How much of an effect, how much did that improve your college game, do you think?
Without a doubt, I think it improved my game. It just kind of it showed me that I knew I could dig deep and battle out tough games or playoff type games or do or die games, and it kind of just allowed me to not have any of that pressure or nervousness going into the tournaments and my years after that.
So then in your sophomore season, IU East had a great team. You went 34-3. And that season, you got to the Final Four and you lost just a nail biter to Indiana Wesleyan. I know you came down, you hit a 3 with 8 seconds to go. You got within 1.
Wow. Yeah, that game was easily probably one of the toughest losses to swallow. Going into that year, we actually played Indiana Wesleyan at home earlier on that year, and we won by 3 points. So to see them again in the Final Four of the tournament and lose by 3 points, it kind of just, again, felt like a letdown for us as a team and kind of made us feel like we fell a little short of our goal. But, I mean, we we couldn't be happier with the year we had, going 34-3, being ranked number 1 in the country for a majority of the season. It was just like an incredible feeling, and it really brought us closer together as a group.
But that Bishop, I couldn't imagine that disappointment of getting to that level and, just not quite being able to get over the hump. Was that really hard to get over?
Oh yeah, I lived probably that last shot down. Like you said, I had hit a 3-pointer.
2 timeout front court. Smith will try the 3, and that's good. 3-point bucket with 8 9/10 of a second, and Mark Hester will call his final timeout. What a shot from Bishop Smith.
Good shot for Smith, their best 3-point shooter. Shoots it at about 46 for the 3-point line and pulled up. He was just nails on that. And
to put us down 1, maybe with about 12 seconds left in the game, and then they come down and shoot free throws and went up 3 again, and then I came down and airballed a chance to tie it and send it into overtime.
Maxwell has gone to the bench to provide a defense. Here's the final seconds. Hit the 3 a moment ago. He's trying to find some room, throws it up from the top of the key, and it's short. And that's how this one comes to an end. Indiana Wesleyan will be heading to the national championship game on Tuesday night.
I think that shot just kind of sat on me for a while, and I used it as fuel throughout the summer to kind of prepare for my next season.
And so let's talk about that. And I see this so often. In your junior season, you blossomed into a absolutely fantastic college basketball player. So, how did you feel about the team going into your junior season?
Going into my junior season, the team and I, we felt really good about the talent we had, and not only the talent, but the system we had in place to manage our talent. Myself and my roommate, Jalen McKay, we were both headed into our junior year together, so we were pretty excited to finally kind of take over the team and have the keys to the team and get to do it from the guard positions together.
So you play in that, it's a tough conference, the River States Conference. Where is the toughest place to play in the conference?
The toughest place to play in the River States Conference, I would have to say, is IU Kokomo. And I say this because they actually have a fairly small gym, maybe 4, 5, 6 rows of bleachers just right beside the court. And it kind of makes it a loud environment with the crowd all on top of the court. And it's just a really tough place to play.
Those smaller gyms are always the toughest, aren't they?
Yeah.
You just talked about that heartbreaking loss to Indiana Wesleyan, but your junior season, first game of the year, where do you go? You go up to Marion and you're going to play Indiana Wesleyan. They had just crushed your dreams months earlier. Do you remember going up there?
Yes, we were extremely excited to head up to Indiana Wesleyan to open our season my junior year. Having lost to them in the Final Four, we felt like we owed them kind of a payback or revenge type of game. And they were actually ranked number 1 in the country with us number 2 right behind them. So there wasn't a better way to open up our season.
So you guys really, that's a tough place to play there. And in that game, Big Nate Niehoff, he was a senior that year. He scored 7 points in the last 5 minutes. You guys hang on for a monster road win. I mean, just how good was that bus ride back to Richmond?
I mean, it was an incredible feeling. I think people had already started to kind of count us out just based off of the history Indiana Wesleyan has and how good of a team they are. And I think us getting that win just kind of let us know that we were still at the top and we had what it takes to be one of the best teams in the country.
And then in your junior season, you guys really got hot toward the end of the year. You went 15-2 going into the national tournament. You came in, the first thing you did is knocked Bethel out, and then you took on that Cinderella team, St. Francis.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember the crowd was kind of against you? The crowd really kind of turned towards St. Francis. They had knocked off Oklahoma Wesleyan.
Naturally so, crowds kind of like the underdog story, and they wanted to root for St. Francis out of Illinois. But I think myself and my team, we kind of like having the crowd against us, and it gives us a little extra incentive and energy to play through.
You know, that Pentagon can be so quiet because it's so big, right? Not a lot of fans travel, and so it's almost a little bit of a blessing, even if the crowd's against you, just get some energy in there, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, no doubt about it. I really enjoy, I think some of the best games I've had actually at the Pentagon were against teams that had a shorter drive and a little better of a crowd to come support them, because kind of just helped me get up for the game and give me some energy.
So after you beat St. Francis, and then you back to the quarterfinals, you were back in the Elite Eight, and you were going to take on Spring Arbor. Spring Arbor was the eventual champion, but going into that game, how'd you feel about your matchup? What were you concerned about with Spring Arbor?
Without a doubt, something I noticed about Spring Arbor just in the first round of the tourney, that they were a complete team. They had shooters, they had scorers, they had rebounders, ball handlers. They were as complete as any other team in the tournament. And what I really liked about their team was just their bench energy. They seemed to support each other and all be on the same page throughout the games I saw them play. So I was pretty confident in our matchup. I thought we had enough talent and the skill to beat them, but I definitely was worried about the way they play together as a team. I think that's kind of what helped them win that championship.
You know, Bishop, I think that's a great observation. Coach Cottingham doesn't always have the best talent in the country, but he has a knack at getting them to
buy in.
Yeah, buy in, and family's an overused word, but boy, to have confidence in each other and support each other. He does something special, because those teams, like you say, they always have that aspect to them. And I think that's what carried them over the top that year, because they weren't the most talented team there, and they're probably the first ones to tell you that. But
oh yeah, I'd agree.
They just peaked at the right time, and they trusted each other a lot.
They got really hot, and going into that Elite Eight game against them, we were pretty confident until that morning. We had woke up and my roommate had flu-like symptoms, and he ended up playing through it, but he didn't play very well. I think that kind of, not to say that's why we lost, but it hurt us in the end.
Well, it's always tough to, if somebody goes half speed, that's definitely tough.
But that time of the year, I think every team's kind of battling through some kind of nicks, bruises, or illness. So no excuses to be made.
No, especially when you get to that final eight, because most teams have played 3 games in 3 days, and it becomes survival of the fittest at that point.
Oh yes, sir.
You fell in that game, but Bishop, during your career, you played in the Elite Eight twice, the Final Four once, and then this season, obviously, you didn't get a chance to compete in the tournament. But, talk about what it's meant to you to be part of that great IU East program.
It's meant everything to me in terms of my career. And in high school, I was a talented player and a scorer, but I never really had the luxury to be a winner and to lead winning teams or have winning records or leave a mark on the program. And I think just being here at IU East with not only the great talent and teammates, but the savvy coaches that we had in place, it just gave me a chance to be a part of something bigger than myself and be next to some great guys and build some great relationships. And I think that's kind of a testament to why we were such a good team and have seen so much success over the last 5 or 6 years.
Bishop, you have a reputation of being able to score on anybody. Who is the toughest defender in the River States Conference?
The toughest defender in the conference, I would actually say, is somebody on my team. I would give it to my roommate, Jalen McKay. But if I had to pick somebody from a different team, right now I would say Detwan Gary. He's actually a guard at IU Kokomo. He was injured with a concussion this year at the tournament, so we didn't get to see him down there. But he's, just a really quick and strong guard, and he's not as much offensively aggressive, so he really focuses on taking me out of the game and trying to make it difficult for me to get going.
That's an athletic team, too, as well, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So this season, let's jump to your senior season. You guys had kind of a scary start. Really atypical for that IU East program. Struggled in November. You were 3-6 at the end of the month. Just talk about November this season.
Well, coming into the season, actually I kind of saw a rough start coming towards us. My roommate Jalen McKay, he redshirted this season with a meniscus surgery, and then about 3 months prior to our first game, I had hand surgery on my shooting hand. So I actually sat out about 3 months up until the season. I came back a day before our first scrimmage and a week before our first game. So I think our team missing all that preseason time without their 2 guards, I think it kind of hurt our development and kind of getting everybody together. So the first few games was kind of an adjustment process, not only for myself, but for the team, just kind of figuring out how I fit in with them and how they fit in with my style of play. And I think our first month of November was just a lot of feeling each other out and trying to get on the same page with how we're going to get things done.
Well, you definitely turned it around. You went 20-4 the rest of the season after Thanksgiving. What made it click?
I think our main changes were, one, eliminating the negative energy. I think when you lose some games, it's easy to get down and start digging yourself in a hole that can become very hard to get out of. I think once we eliminated that negative energy and just kind of continued to buy in as a team and believe in ourselves, I think once we got our confidence rolling, there wasn't a team that we'd see that we didn't think we could play with or beat.
I thought that a couple of games that kind of turned it around for you, and I'm curious your opinion. In December, West Virginia Tech came to town, and you were able to knock them off. And then you beat Washington Adventist at down, I think, in Knoxville.
Oh, yeah, in Tennessee. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was a tournament down there. But I wanted to ask you, early in the year, were you surprised by West Virginia Tech? Nobody really thought they were going to compete. And when they came up there to play you, were you surprised how good they were able to compete?
I personally wasn't surprised. I knew they had brought in a young coach from actually West Virginia University. He was an assistant over there. And I knew he would bring a lot of energy and a lot of knowledge for them. And they didn't have any big name players at the time, but they had a really good team, and they had quite a few returners actually coming back. So I knew they'd be a good team, and once they kind of got everything figured out with their new coach, that they'd gel and have some success this season.
I was going to ask you also about Washington Adventist. They were really on a roll when you played them. They were playing really well. That was a big win for you, wasn't it? Didn't that boost your confidence?
I think that Adventist game would definitely be the changing point in our season for at least in my opinion. I believe they had already won 2 games against Division I programs prior to playing us. So coach had kind of made that known and had told us that if we didn't get our act together, we were going to have a rough game against them. And I think our team just kind of came out with some confidence and swagger, and we kind of bought in and played together. And just winning that game showed us that we can beat the most talented teams and that we just need to make sure that we're at our best level every single night.
Yeah, I agree with you. When you just looking from afar, Bishop, it appeared that was kind of a turning point. And then in January, you guys just continued to roll. At the end of January, you find you were 9-1 in conference after this terrible start. And you went up to Kokomo and you beat them. That had to feel good. I know they're kind of a rival. So at the end of January, what did you guys see as your biggest hurdle to winning the conference?
I think our biggest hurdle in the conference come January was just consistency. I think, and that goes each and every day. I don't think we showed up every single day at practice like it could be our last day. And I think once we started to kind of get some of that consistency, we started seeing better results, and we ended up winning the conference championship. And I kind of just see that as our biggest hurdle, being consistent in our effort.
Yeah, there was one game you had in February I want to ask you about. We already talked a little bit about West Virginia. You had to go up to Beckley. You definitely must have wanted this game. West Virginia was knocking people off left and right. You scored 31, but Bishop, they shot 60% from 3 for the game.
Honestly, the results of that game, us losing by 3, are exactly what we deserved. We didn't stay true to our scouting report. We were supposed to stay out on shooters and force their guard to kind of beat us from inside and score on us. And instead, we kind of dug in and helped, and they were able to hit some big shots all throughout the game. And I think that kind of hurt us in the long run and kept us from being able to pull that one out at their place.
Well, it must have toughened you up because you guys went on to the conference tournament and got to the championship game. Then you got IU Kokomo again, and boy, you had to be looking forward to that game, weren't you?
Oh yeah, IU Kokomo actually has 2 players from my high school that were my high school teammates. They're both a grade younger than me. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Traquan Spivey. He was a honorable mention All-American last year, but so that's always an exciting game, and some of our old coaches and friends from high school come down to watch it. So it was always exciting, and what better way to win my last conference championship than beating some of my old high school buddies at the same time.
That game was just an absolute knockdown, drag-out defensive struggle. Both teams were held to under 40%, and that turned out, Bishop, to be the last college game of your life.
Yeah.
Well, you were able to take home the hardware. I mean, now looking back, how special was that night?
That night, man, just an incredible feeling, being able to win one last time in front of my family from home, some friends from home. Just, I mean, the IU East community that supports us game in and game out. It felt really good to know that at least I got to go out with a win as my last game and not a loss or something of that nature.
It gives you a great memory to look back on, doesn't it?
Yes, sir. No doubt.
So you head to Sioux Falls. You never get to play a game. So how did you find out that there's no more basketball?
Well, it was actually Thursday evening. We were supposed to play, I believe, at like 4 o'clock, and I was taking my pregame nap earlier in the day, about noon, 11 o'clock, when I got a call from Coach. He asked me to gather up the team and get us all in the lobby, and I kind of had an idea of what he wanted at that time.
Yep.
And we got down to the lobby, and he told us the bad news of the tournament being canceled due to the coronavirus, and we kind of just sat there as a team and took it all in together and just kind of gave the seniors a chance to speak to everybody and tell them not to take it for granted, because it does go fast.
Bishop, you mentioned Coach Hester. At IU East, he's built an amazing program there at Richmond. Can you just talk about Coach Hester for a moment?
Coach Hester, first and foremost, an amazing man off the court. He's a family man, and I believe he does care about his players and his staff deeper than basketball and really wants to see us become men and grow in life. And I think all of those attributes that he gives us kind of carry over to how we perform for him and the work ethic we put in. And he's just a really good recruiter. He does a great job of getting us to buy in and want to play for him.
Well, I think, when that day you made a decision to go down to Richmond and play basketball, I think that turned out to be a great decision for you. You really left your mark there at IU East.
Thank you.
Bishop, what's next for you after IU East?
Right now, I'm pursuing a professional basketball career. I've been talking to a few different agencies and just different people and friends who are actually in the business as of now, just kind of soaking up as much knowledge as I can. I'm hoping soon that all this COVID-19 stuff blows over and we can get leagues starting back up and gyms back open so that I can continue to work on my game and hopefully take it to the next level overseas somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all hoping for that. Well, we'll certainly wish you the best of luck, whatever you end up pursuing. Bishop, I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your story with us.
Thank you for your time, and I was glad to be a part of it, Bill.
Okay, thank you.